Did you know that in the 90s and early 2000s, it was a sin for a Caribbean child or teen to be caught laying down and doing nothing, especially on a Saturday morning? Picture this, a 10-year-old girl. Now, I'm not saying that she is me, but I'm also not saying that she's not me. Laying down on a couch, probably trying to catch up on her Saturday morning cartoons or something, and suddenly hearing, "Get up, get up, you not have nothing for do. Clean up the house, clean up the kitchen. The couch is not a bed. Get up and go find something for do." Not of Caribbean descent? I probably don't even need to translate that for you because you've likely lived some version of that too. Don't let nobody find you sitting and doing nothing because they will, without fail, find something for you to do. Heaven forbid you sit down and catch yourself, kick your feet up, and relax. Idle hands, I guess. Now, if that wasn't your upbringing, good for you, boo. Let me ask you something, though. How many jobs did your mom or your grandma or your auntie work? How many hours a day were they working? How many days a week were they working? What I'm trying to say here is that as Black women, we're always doing something or we're always working. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do for your family and your household. Yes, that goes without saying. But somehow, we've always been told that rest is a luxury, one that can only be afforded after we grind. I actually hate that word, but I felt like I needed to use it to get my point across. Now, I know the narrative is shifting with the aesthetics of soft girl era and slow mornings, but how much of that is actually being lived? How much of it is being embodied? Because sis, if you're setting up a tripod to record, edit, and post that, baby, I've got news for you. You're still working. Heck, I'm guilty of it too. I won't even front. Working before resting, and somehow working and actually never resting. Telling myself I'm going to work first and then rest. I'm just going to finish up these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things, and then I'll go rest. But then the rest never comes. One day I was in the midst of doing podcast work and conjuring up other ideas and, doing all the things. And I asked myself, Jewel, why are you always doing something? And myself said, well, what else am I supposed to do? Nothing? Like my own self really couldn't even understand the concept of me doing nothing. I'm still asking myself, why am I always finding something to do, something to get into? Why can't I just chill? That's an unsolved mystery, one that I'm hoping this episode will help me and you start to address. Welcome to Even in the Small Things, a place for believers and non-believers alike to meet, see, feel, and understand God. This podcast is here to help us realize how God is a part of everything, especially the small things. I'm your host, Jewelle. Join me in conversation to learn how I, along with some of my friends, mix the word with the woo to help us navigate parenthood, entrepreneurship, and Black womanhood. Whether you're pursuing creative passions or conscious parenthood, you will gain practical tools to help you discover the divine in everyday life. May this be a blessing unto you. Today's sacred text comes from Matthew chapter 11, 28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. To understand why rest is so hard for Black women to claim, we have to start with the truth. We come from women who were denied the right to rest. Our ancestors' bodies were literal sites of extraction. From the plantation to the present day, Black women's labor has been considered public property. Our great-great-great-grandmothers couldn't rest through pregnancy. Heck, honestly, I don't even think we need to go back that far. Our ancestors couldn't rest through grief. They couldn't rest through illness or injury or exhaustion. Their survival depended on staying alert, staying productive, and staying in motion. Epigenetics, the study of how the effects of stressful experiences are passed down via our DNA, tells us that trauma, hypervigilance, and that wiring for constant motion lives in us as their descendants. Not as memory or stories being told around the Thanksgiving table, but in our actual nervous systems. Our bodies are genetically coded to remember what our ancestors endured. Now, we know that the exploitation of Black women's labor didn't suddenly end when slavery was abolished. I actually recently learned that during World War II, Greenville, South Carolina, passed a law that said all Black women had to work and service white women while their husbands were at war. The white women found it too hard to cook and clean up for themselves, so it was mandated that Black women had to go report to work lest they risk being jailed or facing heavy fines. Baby, that made me mad, okay? Like, pissed. Our rest wasn't just denied, it was criminalized. It's insane. Now, fast forward to today, and capitalism is going to do what it's going to do and find new ways to extract from us. We have the most college degrees of any demographic. We're the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. We carry entire industries on our backs. Healthcare, education, service, you name it. We are the backbone of so much that keeps this janky country running. And yet, between February and April 2025 alone, over 300,000 Black women lost their jobs or left the workforce. That's 300,000 in 3 months. And mind you, this is on top of the more than 500,000 women who still haven't returned to the labor force since the pandemic began. Despite our degrees, despite our entrepreneurship, despite our labor, Black women remain disproportionately below the poverty line. There are so few Black women millionaires that we can pretty much name them all. Let me say this plainly. The math ain't mathing, okay? Our exhaustion isn't translating to our liberation. We are working ourselves to literal death. Our productivity, our degrees, our overworking, none of it is protecting us the way we've been told it would. So we have to ask ourselves, what are we really doing this for? Who are we doing this for? And what would it mean to stop? Or at least pull back just a little bit? American capitalism, racism, sexism, all the isms have told us that rest equals laziness, that our worth is measured by our output, that if we're not producing, we're not valuable. Now that's plantation logic that we, in society, still hold ourselves to. Going back to what I said about epigenetics, the cost of us not resting isn't just about personal exhaustion. It becomes generational. If we keep this up, we're going to pass this mindset and this mode of behavior to our daughters and our daughters' daughters. Yeah, I'm trying to kill all of that right now, right here. It's one thing to be ambitious and go after all your dreams and do all the things. Yes, do that. Show your children that. And at the same time, show your children how to rest. Once we understand why resting is so foreign to us, we can start to reclaim it and use it for our good. Tricia Hersey, the founder of the Nap Ministry, teaches us that rest is a form of resistance, and she means that literally. Rest disrupts systems that require our endless output and obedience. She teaches that capitalism needs us tired. It needs us too exhausted to question, too depleted to organize, too burnt out to imagine anything different than the world we're living in now. When we rest, we're saying, I will not be consumed by systems that were never designed for my flourishing. Us choosing rest is the refusal to let our worth be determined by our productivity. It is the radical act of saying no to this energy extraction. And every time we rest, we practice that refusal, we practice that resistance. But, and this is important too, because I don't want to stay in resistance language, because while I love to fight the power as much as the next gal, my way is a lot less frontline protests and a lot more focus on building for me and my people. Rest as a revolution isn't just about what we're saying no to. It's also about what we're saying yes to. So let's turn the page to another Black woman rest scholar, Cole Arthur Riley, the creator of Black Liturgies, Prayers, Poems, and Meditations for Staying Human, and This Here Flesh. Cole Arthur Riley offers up another perspective of rest and teaches us that rest restores our dignity and our sense of belonging. She writes, "Let us rest with the knowledge that we have nothing to prove, our dignity perpetual as it is divine." We have spent our lives proving we're smart enough, proving we're worthy enough, proving we deserve basic human dignity, proving we belong in rooms that were intended to keep us out, yet profit from our culture. Y'all remember when Papa Pope told Olivia she has to work twice as hard to earn half as much? Like, baby, you about to put her on a PJ. She about to get on this private jet. And you're still giving her this message? Crazy. We all recognized and felt that line for a reason. We've been taught and told that we have to be exceptional to be treated as human. We've been taught and told that our belovedness is conditional, that in order to deserve rest as Black women, we have to first exhaust ourselves proving we're worthy of rest. Survey says that's a lie. Choosing rest proves we can exist without producing anything and still be beloved. We don't have to earn our place at the table. We don't have to perform our way into worthiness either. Riley reminds us that dignity isn't earned through performance. It's inherent, it's divine. She writes about how rest is where we practice believing we're beloved simply because we exist. Not because of what we achieve, not because of what we offer, just because we are. If I can pass down anything to my daughters outside of faith and financial wealth, this concept would be one of them. One day, I chose to ignore the dishes and all the work I had to do and just relax on the couch with my babies. My oldest was so thrilled that now she asks to do it pretty often. And every time she does, every time she says, "Mommy, can we just sit on the couch and relax?" Or, "Mommy, can you show me how to meditate?" I'm like, yes, past rewritten, future recoded. Y'all, we need to teach these babies how to rest. Like I said previously, if we're passing down experiences genetically, I want to be as mindful and intentional about that as possible. Every time we rest, we're creating new neural pathways, new spiritual pathways, new energetic pathways, not just for us, but for our daughters and granddaughters and the Black women who are going to come from us 200 years from now. Just like we inherited our ancestors' trauma and their strength and their resilience, they're going to inherit our choice to rest. They'll inherit our refusal to be consumed. They will inherit a nervous system that knows they're safe enough to be still. This is us building rested, liberated futures. Futures that center ease, pleasure, and rest as divine birthright. This is Afrofuturism at its finest. You see, rest is deeply and profoundly spiritual. We are made in the image of God. I'm going to say that until I am blue in the face. That. And we are made in the image of a God who rested. What did God do on the seventh day, church? Say it with me. He rested. What did God list as one of the 10 commandments? All together now, keep the Sabbath day holy. Now, whether you're Baptist, Buddhist, or Seventh-day Adventist like my maternal ancestors, get yourself a Sabbath and keep it holy, baby. If God can rest and command that we rest too, what do you have going on that's so important, so bigger than creating the heavens, earth, and all that's in it, that you can't hold your seat and drink your tea? Huh? Tell me. I'll wait. Nothing. There's nothing that we have to do, want to do, or should do that is more important than what God is doing. Rest is baked into our design. Again, it's part of what it means to be made in God's image. So when we deny ourselves rest, we are actually denying a fundamental aspect of who we were created to be. When we talk about the Holy Trinity and the triune God, that is the basis and foundation of the Christian faith, we see that God chose to incarnate in the human body as Jesus. In human form, God was susceptible to all of our body's needs and requirements, rest being one of them. Jesus slept, Jesus rested, Jesus took breaks. If you're a Christian, which to me means you're doing all that you can do to strive to be like Christ, what do you have that's more important to do than actually being like Christ? Sis, turn the other cheek on that pillow, go take a nap, and ask Mr. Sandman to bring you a dream. In her work, Tricia Hersey talks about the dreamspace, the sacred place for healing, imagination, and communication with ancestors that is solely accessed through rest. It's where we can work things out, daydream, slow down, and become. She shares that naps provide a portal to imagine, invent, and heal. Hersey says, our dream space has been stolen and we want it back. We will reclaim it via rest. Us saying, let me sleep on it, is us trusting in the fact that we do work things out in our rest and come into knowing that we wouldn't have otherwise. Using that phrase is us admitting that taking a break from the thinking and the active working helps us see things more clearly. Imagine what our ancestors could have done if they were able to spend time resting and dreaming. Imagine what they could have imagined beyond survival. What would their capacity to vision and build and create from a place of rest rather than fear and sheer terror look like? You see what they've been able to do with little? How much more can we do with all the resources and capabilities and freedoms afforded to us? In rest, we access imagination. We dream up liberated futures and safety-coded realities where we can thrive and live as the divine beings that God created us to be. When we rest, we see worlds we can't see when we're depleted. And this isn't just metaphorical. Our dreams are literally where we can access the blueprint for what we're building. Tricia Hersey's teachings go on to say the dream space is where we access a wealth of healing information and guidance waiting for us in a slowed down state. She argues, similar to what I just shared, that if our ancestors had been able to access rest and this dream space, they would have been even more ingenious and inventive and might have even ended their own enslavement sooner. In the Bible, and in some of our lived experiences, because I know some of y'all be dreaming, we see how God uses dreams and visions to communicate, guide, and reveal. Jacob dreamt, Joseph dreamt, Solomon dreamt, Daniel dreamt. Plenty of people have dreamt and received guidance, revelations, warning, and directions. Now, word on my womanist, Afrofuturist, Black liberation, world-building corner of the internet streets is that Harriet dreamt too. Yes, whether it was a dream or a daydream, one of my internet teachers, Candace DeMeza, writes in her work, Quantum Physics and World-Building Liberated Futures. Y'all, this is the stuff I read in my spare time. I am such a nerd. I own it and I love it. Candace DeMeza says that Harriet Tubman's work in freeing our people began with a vision. My own research validates that and says that after she endured a head injury, Miss Tubman had vivid visions of freedom and dreamt of flying over fields, towns, rivers, and mountains like a bird. Are y'all with me? A disabled, enslaved, badass Black woman got the blueprint to her freedom and the freedom of hundreds of others in a dream. Our rest literally brings us freedom. You see why we as Black women are taught not to rest? I'm on to you, capitalism. Let us dream, daydream, and vision up new blueprints that help us build worlds that serve us and those that come after us. In the process of working, resting, dreaming, and building, always go back to resting. Rest is what helps us integrate these visions and seal the creation that comes after it. Rest is what enables us to look at what we have built, what we have created, formed, and shaped, and see that it is good. If you are a creator in any shape or form, you know that constantly chipping away at your art never renders it complete. When you step away, you take a break, and then you're refreshed enough to continue if needed, or you're empowered to say, it is finished. God did the same thing. When God built, when God created, when He spoke things and formed things into being, God stepped away. He paused. He rested and said, it is good. Without rest, the work that we're doing, liberated, safety-coded futures that we're envisioning and building, doesn't get integrated. It doesn't get sealed into reality. So you need to give yourself time for your visions and your dreams that you get from the dream space to be processed and filtered through in order for you to actually birth it into this world. Especially if, like Sister Harriet, the world you see in your dream space is vastly different from what we've been conditioned to accept. That was a lot. Let me break it down to what I'm saying. Harriet's earthly reality was filled with enslavement, human trafficking, physical torture, all types of evil. Yet, she visioned a world in which her and her people were free. If we dream up and envision worlds that are so contrastingly different to this reality that we're currently living in, we can't just go straight from getting that blueprint and jumping into building. We have to sit with the vision, taste it, feel it, embody it, digest it, allow it to be coded into our DNA, allow it to be coded into something that we can transmute into reality, and then create that reality. Harriet's earthly reality was filled with enslavement, human trafficking, physical torture, all sorts of evil. Yet she visioned a world in which her and her people were free. To bring that vision to pass, she thought of that reality. She believed it. She integrated it and acted according to it. And while she was very, 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 very busy, child, I'm sure she took a moment, even if one, as Jamaicans would say, dega minute, to stop and see that what she was doing was good. When we intentionally stop, when we mark the end or pause of our work and take the time to rest, when we practice Sabbath, we're participating in divine order. We're saying to ourselves and to everyone around us, I trust that what I've done is enough. I trust that rest will seal my creation. It's above me now, basically, okay? I trust that God is at work even when I'm not. So, in so saying, to dispute the belief that rest is optional or that it is a luxury, it is not, and it shouldn't be. Rest is mandatory to healing ourselves and generations before and after. Rest is integral to our creation of worlds and societies and systems that actually serve us instead of harming us. So how do we do that? How do we embody rest? Well, first thing I'm going to tell you to do is to choose how you want your rest to look and feel. If rest is resistance for you, unplug from urgency culture. Be unavailable without apology. Don't jump to answer the text. Turn off Slack or Teams after work hours. Make your do not disturb automatic. Say no as a complete sentence. Say, I'm resting, without justification or explanation. And let your rest be visible. Let your family see you rest. Let your mama and your grandmama see you rest. Let your friends see you rest. And let the children around you see you rest. If rest is remembrance for you, lay down and say your ancestors' names. My ancestors literally told me to rest. I got direct instructions from my maternal ancestors in a vision while resting. You see what's happening here? I'm not making things up. They distinctly told me to rest because they couldn't. So, in my next nap, I'm going to nap for Iceland Wilmot, for Ruth Daly, and Francis Daly. Before your next nap or your next rest period, light a candle. Say your ancestors' names. Say, Grandma, I rest for you. Great-grandmother, I rest in your honor. If rest is intimacy for you, sis, put down that phone, stop scrolling, and go ahead and rest in God's presence. Rest in your own energy. Do you remember what your own energy feels like without distraction? Get close to those you love. Snuggle, Netflix and chill. I don't know. Do whatever. Just as long as you're resting and relaxing. If you want your rest to embody dignity, give yourself permission to rest without needing permission or allowance from anyone else. Don't earn your rest. Just take it. If you want that Sabbath type rest, take a Sabbath. It doesn't have to be the Seventh-day Adventist Saturday or Sunday. Just give yourself a day that allows you to say, I'm finished. It is good. I will rest. As I was thinking of a practical tool that I could share for this episode, I decided not to give you one. Why am I going to give you something else to do or try when I simply want you to do nothing? So the practical tool for this episode is to go and rest. If you do want something, if you do want a little helpful something to help you prepare for that rest that you're going to take, I've remixed my pause framework from our episode on presence into some questions for your reflection. As you're journaling or reflecting on these questions, I invite you to listen to Tricia Hersey's song, Rest Life, or her Dreamspace playlist. I'll link to both down in the show notes. So, the remixed pause framework is P, pause. When was the last time you rested without guilt? A, assess. What stories do you tell yourself about why you can't rest? Where did those stories come from? You understand. What does your ability to give yourself rest or not reveal about what you truly need? S, surrender. What would you need to release to make rest an accessible and sacred practice for you? E, engage. What's one way you'll honor your ancestors and your future self through resting this week? So pause, assess, understand, surrender, and engage. Pause and think about when you last rested. Assess the stories that come up for you around why you should or shouldn't rest. Understand what these stories and your adherence to them tell you about your needs. Surrender anything that is stopping you from making rest a supportive practice for you. And pick one way that you're going to honor yourself, your ancestors, your future self, or your future descendants by resting. To bring it back home, I'm going to quote Jesus Javante Christ. I love that middle name for Jesus. Like, whoever came up with it, 5-finger claps, okay? Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. In my belief that Jesus was Black, I'm going to take it to mean that Jesus was talking to us, Black women, specifically Black women carrying the weight of worlds that we didn't build, of our own fruition or of our own freedom. Jesus is talking to us, Black women who are expected to be strong without breaking, Black women who've been told to give without emptying, and Black women who do all of that and still ain't getting anything in return. Your rest is revolutionary. It is resistance. It is remembrance. It is dignity. Your rest is divinity embodied. As a matter of fact, your rest is whatever you want it to be. Your rest honors the ancestors who couldn't choose it. Your rest builds liberated futures for the daughters coming after you. Your rest is how you remember that you are more than what you produce. God invites us into rest simply because we are His. And every time you rest, you're saying yes to this invitation. Remember, you're made in the image of a God who rests, in the image of a God that says you are beloved, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. So go ahead and take that nap, babe. Don't close out this year strong. Close out this year rested. And also, as we end, I just got to let you know that it's my birthday week. So if you want to slide me a little something, something, write your girl a review on Apple Podcasts. Manners, please, and thank you. You don't have an iPhone, you listen on Spotify or YouTube or your favorite podcast platform, then share it with a friend. Much love and happy resting, sweets. Thank you so much. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of Even in the Small Things. Thanks for kicking it with me. I hope you're feeling a little more connected and a lot more encouraged. Life's messy, but God's right there in the middle of it, helping us figure it all out. If you liked today's episode, go ahead and subscribe, comment, rate, and of course, share the episode. Until next time, keep it real, keep it light, and remember, God's in the details.